The off-season is here, and Toronto has decisions to make, real decisions that will define whether this team takes the next step or stays stuck in the same place they've been for too long. Shane Bieber decided to stay. That's the foundation. But now the front office has to build on it. And there are 5 names out there, 5 free agents who could completely change the trajectory of this roster. Each one brings something different. Each one fills a specific need. And if the Blue Jays are serious about competing, they need to stop watching other teams make moves and start making their own. Let's start with Dylan Cease because his name has been connected to Toronto for months. The Blue Jays tried to trade for him last season. It didn't happen. Now he's a free agent and there's no trade cost involved, just money and commitment. Cease had a rough year statistically. A 4.55 ERA isn't what you want to see from a potential ace, but context matters. He struck out 215 batters in 168 innings. That's elite swing and miss stuff. And he's made at least 32 starts in 5 straight seasons. That durability alone is valuable. Toronto's rotation needs another frontline arm. Bieber is back, which is huge. Gausman is still solid, but after that, there are question marks. Young arms like Tiedemann and Jukic have potential, but they're not proven over a full season. Cease gives you reliability. He's been there. He's done it. And when he's right, he's one of the toughest pitchers in baseball to hit. The four-seam fastball, the slider, the ability to miss bats consistently, that's what separates good pitchers from elite ones. The question is whether Toronto is willing to commit the money it's going to take. Cease isn't going to be cheap. Multiple teams will be interested, teams with deeper pockets and more recent success. But if the Blue Jays are serious about competing in the AL East, they can't keep losing out on these guys. At some point, you have to stop being cautious and start being aggressive. Cease fits the timeline, he fits the need, and he's available. That combination doesn't come around often. Now let's talk about Zach Gallen, because he represents something different. Where Cease is about power and strikeouts, Gallen is about control and consistency. He finished last season with a 4.83 ERA, which doesn't jump off the page. But anyone who watched him pitch knows he's better than that number suggests. He's a grinder. He gives you innings. He keeps his team in games even when he doesn't have his best stuff. Gallen has finished with an ERA under 3.70 in 5 of his 7 big league seasons. He's been a Cy Young finalist. He's been one of the most reliable starters in baseball. And more importantly, he's the kind of pitcher who can stabilize a rotation. Toronto struggled with consistency last season. Too many nights where the starter couldn't get deep into games. Too many times when the bullpen had to cover 5 or 6 innings. That wears a team down over the course of a season. Gallen fixes that. He's not flashy. He's not going to dominate every night, but he's going to give you 6 or 7 innings more often than not. He's going to keep the game close. And in a division as brutal as the AL East, that matters. You can't afford to give away games because your starter imploded in the 3rd inning. Gallen doesn't implode. He competes. He adjusts. He finds ways to get outs even when hitters are seeing him well. The Blue Jays need that kind of steadiness. They need someone who can take the ball every 5th day and give the team a chance to win. Gallen does that better than almost anyone. And if Toronto is building a rotation around Bieber and Gausman, adding Gallen to that group creates real depth. That's a top 3 that can compete with anyone in the league. Then there's Framber Valdez. And this is where it gets interesting because Valdez brings something Toronto hasn't had in years. A dominant left-handed starter. The Blue Jays rotation has been right-handed heavy for too long. That makes it easier for opposing lineups to prepare. They see the same arm angles, the same pitch shapes, the same approach. Valdez changes that completely. He's a sinker baller who pounds the bottom of the zone and generates ground balls at an elite rate. He finished last season with a 3.66 ERA, 187 strikeouts, and 13 wins. But the numbers don't tell the full story. Valdez is a competitor. He's the guy who wants the ball in the biggest games. He's completed at least 1 game in each of the last 5 seasons. That's almost unheard of in modern baseball. Most pitchers don't even get the chance to complete games anymore. Valdez does because he earns it. He pitches deep into games. He refuses to come out. And when his team needs someone to step up, he's the guy who does it. That mentality matters. Toronto has talent. What they need is guys who embrace the pressure, who want to pitch in October, who don't shrink when the stakes get high. Valdez is exactly that kind of pitcher. Adding him to a rotation with Bieber and Gausman would give Toronto one of the best top 3s in baseball. Different styles, different approaches, but all high-level starters who can shut down lineups. That's how you win in the postseason. You need depth, you need options, and you need guys who can adjust when the other team makes their adjustments. Valdez gives you all of that. So now we shift to the bullpen, because Dylan Williams is one of the best relievers in baseball when he's healthy. Last year was rocky for him. A 4.79 ERA, some blown saves, questions about whether he was the same dominant closer who won the NL Reliever of the Year in 2023. But down the stretch, he reminded everyone why he's so valuable. Over his final 19 appearances, he posted a 2.50 ERA with 34 strikeouts in 18 innings. That's dominance. Toronto's bullpen has been inconsistent. Too many late-game collapses, too many nights where the starter handed over a close game and the relievers couldn't hold it. That can't keep happening. Not if this team wants to compete for a division title. Williams fixes that. He's a weapon in the 8th or 9th inning. His changeup is one of the nastiest pitches in baseball. Hitters know it's coming, and they still can't hit it. Pairing Williams with Jordan Hoffman would give Toronto one of the best back-end bullpen combinations in the league. You'd have options, you'd have flexibility, and most importantly, you'd have confidence that when you hand the ball to those guys, the game is over. That confidence matters. It changes how a manager uses his roster, it changes how the starting pitchers approach games, and it changes how the team feels in close games late in the season. The Blue Jays can't afford to keep losing games they should win because the bullpen falls apart. Williams gives them a chance to fix that. He's proven, he's talented, and when he's locked in, he's one of the best in the business. Finally, there's Kyle Tucker. And this one is massive because if Bo Bichette leaves, Toronto loses the face of the franchise. They lose a guy who's been the heartbeat of this lineup for years. You can't just replace that with a mid-tier free agent and hope it works out. If Bichette walks, the Blue Jays need to make a statement. They need to bring in someone who can not only replace his production, but elevate the entire offense. Tucker is that guy. He hit 266 with an 841 OPS last season, despite dealing with injuries. When healthy, he's one of the most complete hitters in baseball. Power, plate discipline, the ability to hit for average. He does everything, and he plays elite defense in right field. That's a five-tool player. That's the kind of guy who changes the dynamic of a lineup. Imagine Tucker hitting in the middle of the order with Guerrero. That's terrifying for opposing pitchers. You can't pitch around one without facing the other. And if the Blue Jays add some depth around them, suddenly this offense goes from good to elite. Tucker also brings leadership. He doesn't say much, but he plays hard every night. He competes. And that's exactly the kind of presence Toronto needs. This isn't about finding a replacement for Bichette. This is about upgrading, about showing the fan base that the front office is serious, that they're not content to just tread water. Tucker makes Toronto better immediately. He changes the identity of the team. And if the Blue Jays are going to compete with the Yankees and Orioles, they need players like him.